Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Arja wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws, playing a tap Path of Ancestry. Sammy's land for turn is an untapped Overgrown Tomb, and he casts Arbor Elf. Max plays a tap Canyon Slough. Mathieu just drops a Verdant Catacombs and passes. Arja continues with tap lands, playing Temple of Deceit and Scrying 1. Sammy draws and is able to cast a Paradise Druid after using his Arbor Elf. And then plays a tap Baron Moor. Max has got a forest and casts Scuzzback Scrounger. He passes, and during the end step, Matt cracks the Catacombs for an Indatha Triome. Matt just draws and plays a tap Breeding Pool. Arja's got a Llanowar Wastes and is able to cast a Phyrexian Arena. Sammy plays a Swamp and casts Infectious Inquiry. He takes 2, draws 2, and gives each opponent a poison counter. He then casts Galagreeters and passes. Max draws and blights onto his Scrounger, making a treasure token. He then cracks it to help cast Sinister Gnarlback. He plays a Gruul Turf for turn, bouncing a land back to hand, and going to his end step, blights on the Gnarlback and draws a card. Matt just plays a Mountain and casts Ashling. Arja draws an extra 1 to the arena, losing 1 in his upkeep. And then plays a Skullclamp, and then plays Dimir Aqueduct, bouncing the land back to hand. Sammy drops a forest and casts High Perfect Morcant. This has each opponent blighting 1 as she comes in, and Sammy makes a treasure off the Galagreeters. Max draws and blights onto his Gnarlbark, making a treasure, and then casts Hapatra in his main phase. He follows it up by casting the Reaper, King No More, and as it enters, blights on the Galagreeters and Ashling, removing them both. Max picks the Greeters to bring back, plus makes 2 snakes from Hapatra. He also gets a treasure. After that, Max blights onto the Galagreeters to draw a card with a Gnarlbark. Mathieu takes 2 as an untapped Sacred Foundry comes in, and he evokes a Null Drifter. He draws 2 on cast, and with the evoke trigger on the stack, he casts Path to Exile and exiles his own Null Drifter to ramp. He then passes turn. Arja draws his 2 and loses 1 life, and then plays an Unclaimed Territory, and names Elves. He follows up with Maralen, and he hits Sammy with the Exile, but doesn't cast any of the cards he exiles. He then passes, and during the end step, Sammy casts Infernal Grasp to take out Hapatra. Sammy starts his turn off by casting Dionys, and each opponent blights 1 as it comes in. He then floats 2 mana off the Paradise Druid and Arbor Elf, and gets to untap them with Dionys, and uses the mana to help cast Beast Whisperer. Sammy then continues by tapping 3 elves to proliferate on his board, and then untaps the elves thanks to Dionys, and goes to combat, swinging Morcant at Max. Max takes the 6, and Sammy passes. Max draws and casts Sol Ring, and then terminates on Dionys. He follows up by impending an Overlord of the Baelmerk, milling him 4, and he gets back Hapatra and passes. Mathieu's turn has him drawing, and evokes everyone's favorite Drifter with Mull Drifter, and draws 2 as it enters. With the Sacrifice ability on the stack, he uses Malakir Rebirth to bring it back, and draws another 2. Matt then casts his own Sol Ring, and then a Rampant Growth to go and find a basic. Arja draws his 2 and loses 1, playing out a Llanowar Wastes, and then casts Reclamation Sage. He destroys the Overlord of the Baelmerk, and exiles Sammy's top 2 as the elf comes in. He follows up with Morcant Loyalist, hitting Sammy's top 2 again. He doesn't hit anything castable though, so Arja just goes to combat, hitting Mathieu with Maralen, and passes. Sammy's turn has him playing a Blooming Marsh, and he casts Vraska, Betrayal's Sting. He then activates her to proliferate and draws a card, and then swings Morcant at Arja and the Beast Whisperer at Matt. They both just take the hits, and Sammy passes. Max starts his turn off by casting Hapatra again, and then a Devoted Druid. He moves to combat swinging the Reaper and the Galagreeters at Vraska to try and take her down a peg. Matt's turn has him casting Roaming Throne, and he names Elemental as it comes in. He then follows up with Cavalier of Thorns. He gets 2 Cavalier triggers, hitting a Flooded Strand off the first, and a Cinderglade off the second. He then cracks the Flooded Strand, finding a Sodden Verdure. Matcha then finishes up with a Smoke Braider and passes. Arja draws his 2, plays an island, and casts a Masked Vandal. He hits Sammy with the Maralen trigger, but doesn't exile anything from his graveyard. And he then casts a Reclamation Sage from Sammy's exile, which as it comes in, blows up Mathieu's Soul Ring. With that Rec Sage coming in, he exiles 2 more from Sammy, and then equips the Masked Vandal with a Skull Clamp. And then sends his own Reclamation Sage at Vraska, and Maralen goes at Max. Vraska gets taken out, while Max takes 1, and Arja passes. Sammy untaps, and on his upkeep, Arja casts Elvish Ambush. This has him making 5 elf tokens, and he hits Max's top 10 cards, but doesn't hit any instants, so he can't cast them. Sammy then draws, and casts a Vraska's Fall in his main phase. His opponent sacrifices a creature, with Arja drawing 2 off the Masked Vandal being equipped with a Skull Clamp hitting the bin. Sammy then plays a tap Mosswort Bridge, and passes. Max starts his turn off with Everlasting Torment, and then a Farseek. He finds a land, and continues by casting Dreadtiller, and puts a counter onto Maralen. Max then puts a deal to the table that anyone who takes a hit from Hapatra gets to decide where the counters go. Sammy agrees, and he takes the 2, with Max putting a counter onto Arja's commander to remove it. Max makes a Snake token, and gets to put a land into play from his graveyard thanks to the Dreadtiller. He ships it after that. Matt's land for turn is an Arid Mesa, which he cracks for an untapped Stomping Ground, losing a total of 3. He then casts Kindred Discovery, naming Elemental, and follows up with Yarok. He draws 2 off the Kindred Discovery from the Elemental entering, and Yarok doubling the ETB triggers, and he passes after that. Arja draws his 2, loses 1, and plays a Woodland Cemetery as his land for turn, before casting Eclipsed Elf. He reveals the Llanowar Elves off of it, and then casts Ruthless Winnower. After that, Arja passes, and during the end step, Sammy flashes in a Selfless Safe-Right. Sammy doesn't have to sacrifice anything to the Winnower on his upkeep since they're all elves, so he just draws for turn. He plays a Swamp, and casts Garruk, Caller of Beasts, upticking the Walker. He reveals an Imperious Perfect, and a Devoted Druid off of it, and then casts a Devoted Druid. Each opponent blights, and Max blights onto a snake, but makes another snake to replace it basically. Sammy then continues by casting an Elvish Mystic, making each opponent blight again. He then taps 3 elves, proliferating, and with nothing else, Sammy passes. Max draws and casts Auntie Ool. He then puts to stack a Blasphemous Act, and this immediately has Mathieu responding with Assassin's Trophy to blow up the Torment. The board is then wiped, and Max gets to steal the Eclipsed Elf with the Reaper trigger, while Mathieu exiles his Cavalier to put Roaming Throne on top as it hits the graveyard. Arja also gets Masked Vandal with Morcant's Loyalist trigger. Max then casts an Evolution Sage off the Eclipsed Elf that he revealed, and then recasts Auntie Ool off the 2 mana he'd floated earlier with the Devoted Druid. He ships it after that. Matt's land for turn is Plaza of Heroes, and he recasts the redrawn Roaming Throne again. He names Elemental, and follows up with a Flame Braider, Leafkin Druid, and Mirror Entity, drawing a card off of each of them before passing turn. Arja's got a Yavimaya Coast, and recasts Maralen, hitting Sammy's top 2. He then casts Masked Vandal, and exiles the Kindred Discovery as it comes in, plus exiles 2 more cards from Sammy. Arja then casts Assassin's Trophy from Sammy's exile, and blows up Garruk before passing. Sammy plays a Forest, and recasts Morcant. This has each opponent blighting, and Sammy then casts a Generous Patron. He puts a +1/+1 counter onto the Eclipsed Elf and Maralen, and each opponent blights. Sammy also draws cards from the Patron and passes after that. Max casts his own Evolution Sage and plays an untapped Stomping Ground, which he has proliferate as it comes in. He continues with the Bristlebane Battler, and then Eventide Shadow. He pulls 7 counters off of his permanents to draw 7 and lose 7, and then swings Auntie Ool at Sammy. Sammy takes the 4, and Max passes turn. Mathieu's land for turn is a Misty Rainforest, which he cracks for an untapped Overgrown Tomb, losing 3. He then casts Ashling, and evokes out a Maelstrom Wanderer, which cascades into Ephemerate first. He uses it on a Flame Braider, and then cascades into a Worldly Tutor. The Tutor puts to top a Realm Walker, and the Maelstrom Wanderer is then sacrificed as it comes in, and Ashling makes a copy of it. Mathieu then continues by casting Chomping Changeling, and destroys the Skull Clamp and Soul Ring as it comes in. He then evokes out a Jubilation. Ashling's ability to make a token copy of it is doubled as well, so he gets 2 copies of it, which each pump the board twice, which gives his team +12/+12 in total. He's then able to swing out, and after doing the math, knows that no one has enough toughness to live through it, and Mathieu wins the game. Game review time. So this was a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying Lorwyn as a set. There's a lot of interesting commanders, although you're kind of shoehorned into playing Kindred for the most part. I will say that the Jund Precon at least is more focused around a mechanic and less about creature types, although a lot of goblins do have Self-Blight. I think the best card in the game was probably Ashling paired up with the Roaming Throne and the Jubilation, since they worked beautifully in tandem. Jubilation by itself is a decent pump, but getting 2 of its triggers as it comes in is great, and then getting an additional 4 afterwards is even better. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.